A messenger just brought me this letter. It's from my foster brother Quisley, of all people. I wasn't even sure he could write legibly. And I have to say, I'm not sure what to make of it. Quisley wants me to come to Daggerfall. He was even sort of polite about it. He says he needs my help with a personal problem. Which, of course, is no great surprise. But he offered an intriguing form of payment. He says he found an old letter in Lord Sylvel's study. A letter about my mother. She died when I was very young, and I'm not sure how exactly she knew the Sylvels. But I want to know more. What do you think about a trip to Daggerfall? Here, you can read the letter for yourself, if you're curious. I wonder what sort of mess Quisley's managed to get himself into this time. I've seen it 100 times. All of the Sylvels have a way of warming up when they need me to do something for them. Offering something of value for my help? Something about my mother? That's new. Not much, I'm afraid. I was very young. But I've always wondered why she left me with the Sylvels. They weren't related to her or my father. I never found a satisfactory answer as to how or why I ended up with them. Only that I had no family left, and I should be grateful that they took me in. In time, I learned that my father was the last of the Halixes. My mother, though. I asked Lord Sylvel about her family a time or two, but he never said much. He could, but he knows I would break his bloody nose. No, Quisley got himself into some new trouble, so he went looking for something he knew I'd want. And he's right, damn it. What has Lord Sylvel been keeping from me? My foster brother. You've met him. The Sylvels took me in when I was young, and we were raised together. Although I never really belonged to the family. Quisley is the Sylvel's son, no matter how many times he disappoints them. We saved Quisley Sylvel from being sacrificed by the daughter of Sithis in Deepscorn Hollow, near Leowen. The idiot thought he was in love with the leader of a death cult. Can you believe he was angry that we saved him? He'll be in the Rosy Lion. It's his home away from home. Why is it my hands always seem to be cold?
Ah, there you are. I knew you'd come.
I'm here, Quisley. What do you want? And what do you have for me?
Easy, Bastian. You seem a bit irritated. Why don't I talk to your reasonable friend here?
Now just... Fine. That's probably for the best.
I remember you. It's fortunate that you're here. I have some information that may make Bastian angry, even though it's not my fault. However, I need help with a personal matter first. Perhaps a deal is in order? I am betrothed. An arranged match, but a rather good one. I have a Sylvel heirloom, a ring to present to my affianced. Or rather, I had it. While enjoying the end of my bachelorhood, well, lost it gambling. I need that ring back. I lost it to a woman named Granetta. She's with the bandits who hide out at Ilasan Tower. If you and Bastian find her, you'll find the ring. In return, I'll give him the old letter my father kept from him. It's from a Halix family servant. I had nothing to do with that. I just found the letter while searching for a little gold to buy back the ring. But if it motivates Bastian to help me out, then we both win. Go get the ring. I'll meet you nearby and give Bastian the letter then. I know Bastian and I haven't always gotten along, but I don't want to jeopardize this arrangement. My bride-to-be is from a very good family. I'm turning over a new leaf, I swear it. I won't need Bastian's help in the future. Well, I feel that my misdeeds have been exaggerated. But my father has made it clear that if I were to damage our new alliance with the Bouchent family through my youthful indiscretions, well, I have cousins who could inherit in my place. To be frank, it's an alliance. The Bouchents have their concerns, thanks to many baseless slanders about me. But the advantages to both families are significant. I am fond of Morian, though. I want her to think well of me. And risking my father's anger by meddling in business he did not want to come to light. If it weren't for me, Bastian would never even know that letter existed. Let's just say I'm being practical for once.
Illisan Tower? Fine, let's be on our way. Quickly, before I'm tempted to beat some sense into Quisley.
I'm just happy that Camlawn is safe. A baker there makes the best bread.
This looks like the place Quisley told us about. Hold up. Let's talk before we go in. Remember, rooting out a nest of bandits is a secondary concern today. We just need to find this Granetta and convince her to give back the Sylvel heirloom ring, one way or another. Then we'll see what Quisley found. I heard plenty about my father's treason. I think the Sylvels wanted me to understand how fortunate I was that they took me in. About my mother? The Sylvels only said she died of shame. Oh, and I had an older sister, who died too. It may sound foolish, but I'd dearly like to know why my mother decided to send me to the Sylvels. We're not even related. And I want to know more about how she and my sister died. Shame usually isn't fatal. I can't believe I'm in another old ruin doing a favor for Quisley. Well, it looks like Quisley's in luck. The ring is still here. Better be outside with my letter. Taste our steel!
Over here! Did you find it?
We found your ring. Now give me my letter.
Ring first, please. I wouldn't put it past you to take it straight to Father and make me get it from him.
Put it past me? I keep my word, Quisley. But deal with my comrade if it makes you feel better.
I thought I'd wait out here, out of sight from the scoundrels who hide in that old tower. I really need that ring back. I'm supposed to present it to my betrothed at a gathering tonight. Do you have it? I brought it. I wouldn't go back on my word. Don't you make that face at me, Bastian. Look, I don't want to disappoint Morianne, and I've promised my parents that I won't. This is the last time I wish to involve Bastian in my affairs. None the worse for its travels, thank the gods. Bastian's letter is right there. I can't tell you why my father held on to it. So, Bastian, you should have no quarrel with me. I think this successfully concludes our business. I never gave it much thought, to be honest. My father only said it was an obligation, and that Sylvels should live up to their obligations. I was angry about it at times. Some days I resented Bastian's presence in our house. Isn't it obvious? Bastian never got into trouble. When I didn't study, my parents would point at Bastian and ask why I couldn't be more like him. I thought they cared more for him than for me, until my father took me aside and explained things. That Bastian was not a Sylvel and never would be. My parents saw to his needs, and when he was grown, they gave him important work in looking after the family's business interests. I would expect more gratitude on his part, frankly.
Why would Lord Sylvel keep a letter intended for me? Read it, would you? If it's some sort of terrible news, at least you can break it to me gently.
I do hope Bastian understands that he won't be invited to the wedding. My parents were quite put out at his sudden departure.
You don't look horrified, so I suppose I should screw up my courage and read it for myself. Let me see it, please. I think I remember Inaliath. A little wood elf lady. She was kind to me. Why would Lord Sylvel keep this from me? What became of my mother's jewels? Why was I not sent to my sister? That's what I was told, but I don't understand. Clearly, my sister was alive at the time my mother told Inaliath to take me to her. Did she die before we left Daggerfall? I need to go to Redford Trading Post in Grotwood. Inaliath might have answers. This all would have been much easier if Lord Sylvel hadn't concealed so much from me. I imagine he'd say that he did it for my own good, but I admit, I've got some ugly suspicions about his motives. What game was he playing? My father was Lord Martel Hallex, and he was a traitor to the crown. He was a trusted advisor to High King Emmerich, but when I was only 2, he plotted to arrange the king's murder and assume power. My father was found out, though. The king had him executed, and stripped House Hallex of its lands and titles. She was questioned rigorously, but the king's agents couldn't prove that she knew anything of my father's plot. Emmerich spared her life, but the shame of the whole affair broke her heart, or so I've been told. She died shortly afterward. guess we should just ask around? Someone must know in Aliath.
Inventory and deliveries do not get sorted by themselves. This one is rather busy. In Aliath? You are several weeks too late. Poor thing. Veza was not here when it happened. Nellor the innkeeper found coins missing and blamed Inaliath. Sent her off just like that, after Inaliath worked here for years. She would never steal. She went into the woods. The wood elves, they love their trees, but Inaliath is not young anymore. This one worries. Veza thinks she made camp somewhere south of the village.
I may not be as spry as I once was, but I am still good with a bow, and I know this part of the Grotwood better than most. I can look out for myself if I need to. Bastian! That little lad grown to such a big man! I have wondered and worried about him for so many years. Leaving him with the Savels never sat right with me. He should have been sent to his sister in Wayrest. That wasn't true! Clarine married Count Orzin of Wayrest. Just last year I asked a traveller from Stormhaven about them. He told me the Orzins and their children were well. Are you saying that poor Bastian was never sent to her? That was not what his lady mother wanted. Knowing that Bastian still had his sister was a comfort to her in her last days. And what of the jewels she provided? What did Lord Sylvel do with Bastian's fortune? Disgraceful. Why, you poor lad. The king's officials thought Lady Clarine might be disloyal too. They commanded me to take young Bastian to the house of a minor lord and keep him there for a few months until they were sure she had nothing to do with Lord Halix's treason. Someone in his court did. The Sylvels had a young lad of their own. They were close at hand, and there were no doubts about their loyalties. Lord Sylvel wasn't terribly happy about it, but he agreed to put up Bastian until things got sorted out. Lord Sylvel took them for safekeeping. He was supposed to send them with Bastian to Lady Clarine when the time came, but I don't know what happened after I was dismissed. Lord Sylvel said that Bastian would be cared for and wouldn't be my worry any longer. And he hinted that the king's officials had suspicions about some of us who served the Halixes. I'm ashamed to say that I took his gold and ran for home. Someone in his court did. Oh, my little lord. It does my heart good to see you grown and well.
Inaliath, I do remember you. Is what you say true? I was to be sent to my sister and her family?
Your mother insisted on it. She wanted you to be with your kin. Why that never happened, I don't know.
That is a mystery I want to solve. I need to speak to my friend here first, but I have so many questions for you. All these years, I assumed my mother had preferred to die instead of living with her disgrace, even if that meant leaving a small child alone in the world. But she didn't. And the sister I thought was dead is alive? I am stunned. I feel relieved, I suppose, and confused. It's strange. My mother made arrangements for me. I wasn't just forgotten. Why did Lord Sylvel ignore her wishes? Was it simple greed? Or did something else happen? I want to meet her, of course. But I wonder if perhaps she didn't want a tie to our disgraced family. Or maybe she didn't want to be burdened with a child to raise. I need to think. I don't want to just appear on her doorstep, you know? I do. Unraveling my past has long been a dream of mine. But I have to admit, I never expected to feel so, well, nervous about finding out how I came to be where I was raised. I couldn't have done this without you. Thank you. I'm not far off anytime you need me, but I'm anxious to learn more about my mother and sister, and I want to make sure Inaliath has somewhere safer to stay. I'd like to think the Halixes owe her that much for her service.
I may not be as spry as I once was, but I am still...
I've been thinking about my sister, Clarine. Why would Lord Sylvel tell me she was dead all those years ago? Why didn't I end up with her after my mother's death? I think it's time to get some answers. I'm missing some part of the story. Now that I know Clarine is alive, I want to meet her. I don't hold any high expectations, but I need some answers. I want to begin by calling on her husband, Count Ozin. He's a well-known noble who often visits Wayrest on the realm's business. Clarine has had decades to reach out to me. Either she doesn't know I'm alive, or she wants nothing to do with me. Either way, my return may be unwelcome. I should approach the matter with care. Would you come to Wayrest with me? If Count Ozin's in Wayrest, we'll probably find him at the Cloudy Dregs Inn. Visiting nobles often stay there. I hope he can tell me something. After what I've learned about my mother's last wishes, I don't know what to think. I don't. I know she's about 18 years older than I am. I was a late-in-life child. According to my mother's servant, Inaliath, Clarine went off to marry Elmond Ozin soon after I was born, just before the fall of House Halix. That's the question, isn't it? Why did she send me to the Sylvels? Was her own situation too precarious? Did she not want the care of a child? Or perhaps she's dead. It's possible Inaliath is mistaken, and Lord Sylvel told me the truth. I've heard his name a time or two, usually when Lord Sylvel and his visitors got to talking about court gossip. The Ozins are a minor house with lands in the countryside of Stormhaven. Elmond Ozin is said to be respectable, at least. I don't see why he wouldn't. The taint on the Halix name makes other nobles uneasy, but that was many years ago now. Of course, if he didn't know about my mother's arrangements, you might be very surprised to learn he has a brother-in-law. If Count Ozin's in Wayrest, we'll probably find him at the Cloudy Dregs Inn. Visiting nobles often stay there. I hope he can tell me something. After what I've learned about my mother's last wishes, I don't know what to think.
You there? Do you bring news? Or are you here to deliver a demand?
He looks upset. Maybe you should sound him out?
This isn't a very good time, stranger. Be on your way, unless you bring some new tidings about my wife. She's been captured by slavers. Clarine was on her way to visit a friend near Coghlan when she was attacked. Luckily, one of her guards managed to trail the slavers to Coghlan Mine. I must arrange a rescue at once. State your business swiftly. Bastian Alex? What, that's him over there, isn't it? Oh, he looks just like his father. I don't know how to say this, but Clarine believes he died as an infant. After her family's scandal, I thought it best to distance her from the Halleck's name. I'm afraid so. And I told the Sylvels to let Bastian believe he had no family left. It was the safest course. Are the gods punishing me now for that choice? Oh, is it my fault that Clarine... Wait, you and Alex seem able. You can save her. After Lord Halleck's treason, some of the king's counselors argued for executing the whole family to make sure no threat to the king remained. The only way to survive was to convince the king's officials that the Halleck's family no longer existed. Oh, yes, of course they did. I had to convince them that my new wife was appalled by what her father had done and repudiated the Halleck's name. Not only was Clarine at risk, my own house might have fallen under suspicion of treason, too. I don't care for your insinuation. I love Clarine, and I feared for her life. But yes, I had my own title and family to think of. I was new to my title, and it would have been irresponsible to not consider House Ozin's safety, too. He had no great liking for it. He was a staunch loyalist and took Lord Halleck's plot against the High King as a personal offense. It took a rather exceptional inducement to persuade him to take in young Bastian. I bribed him. Lady Halleck had set aside a very substantial fortune in the form of jewels from her dowry for Bastian's education and upbringing. I suggested to Lord Sylvel that he might be a wise steward of that fortune.
You let your own wife believe that her brother was dead?
I made the decision many years ago when I was young and new to my title, and newly married to a woman I only wanted to protect.
You left a young child with strangers! They brought me up as a glorified servant!
They were to use the funds you had to see to your education and raise you as a gentleman.
It should have been her decision, not yours. I'm going to find my sister. For her sake, not yours. Count Ozin told Clarine I was dead, and he conspired with Lord Sylvel to keep me in ignorance, too? What kind of life would I have had if these cowards had just told my sister and I the truth? I suppose I can understand that. If the choice was telling a lie or risking the gallows for my sister, then Ozin made the right decision. It isn't cowardice to fear for someone you love. And it's clear that he fears for Clarine now. I know the place. Bandits and outlaws often lair there. I'll sort out the rest of this later, after we make sure Clarine is safe. I couldn't bear it if I got so close to finding her, only to lose her now. Lord Sylvel told me more than once that I should be grateful that he didn't just drop me off at some orphanage or another. But this whole business of buried secrets and deliberate lies is infuriating, regardless of the reasons for it. It makes sense that the Count wanted to protect my sister. I could almost forgive that. But I suspect he was also interested in protecting his own good name. I can't help but wonder about the life I could have had if he'd chosen differently. No, I was much better off than if I'd been left at an orphanage. But I wasn't family, and I wasn't quite the help. If I hadn't met you, I would have spent the rest of my life looking after the Sylvel's interests without ever really belonging.
I truly never intended any harm to Clarine's brother. I thought I was keeping them both safe, and protecting her reputation, of course. Well, her reputation as the Countess Ozin. There was no other choice. Really?
No charge to have a look.
There's something wonderful about wandering a city's streets with no destination. Let's hit the trail. This looks like the right place. I'm not the praying sort, but I'm praying my sister is unharmed. Slavers are no joke.
And then he said I was drunk.
Attack!
Set it up.
Anything useful? That's the last of them. Oblivion, take
You
it!
won't get away with kidnapping a countess! If you had any brains, you'd flee now! Did my husband send... Oh, never mind. Let's get out of here! I thank you, stranger. Those slavers intended to demand a ruinous ransom for my return. Whether they meant to honor their word is another question entirely. Let's be on our way before more of them find us.
that was easy.
There's the door! I can't believe that I'm free! How can I thank my gallant rescuers? I am Countess Clarine Ozin. I had hoped that my husband's troops would rescue me from that awful mine, but I don't recognize you. No matter, you have my deepest gratitude, strangers. How did you know where to find me? Did he? Oh, I prayed that one of the guards had managed to get through to him. Elmond must have... That is... I'm sorry, but your companion, who is he? He looks just like someone I knew a long time ago. What? How is this... Bastian? My baby brother? I thought he was dead! By the Eight! Of course he looks familiar! He takes after our father. Oh, excuse me, please. I am quite overcome. Look at him. He was so small when I left our home. Our parents were so excited to have another child so late in their marriage. Where has he been all this time? How did he come to find me now? Bastian? The last time I saw you, you were only a toddler. I did not even know that you were alive.
I only just learned that you were alive. I wish I'd known sooner.
You look so much like our father, but you probably have no memories of him, do you?
Sadly, I do not. Nor you, Clarine. I would like to find out what I've missed.
I as well. Oh, I have so many questions for you. Did you know you have a niece and nephew to meet?
I would like that. And I have many questions for you, too. But first, let me speak to my friend here. Clarine is a stranger to me, of course. But part of me feels like I know her somehow. She said I favored our father. I've always wondered about that. Indeed. I confess, I was a little worried that she might not have much to say to me. After all, she's a countess, and we are strangers. Clarine seems kind, though. I like her already. That feels rather good. Which is something the Sylvels could never do. She has a good heart, I believe. It's strange. I left the Sylvels because I wanted to find my own place in the world. Discovering a family I thought I lost? It roots you properly, so to speak. Not yet. Right now, I still want travel and adventure. Being part of my sister's family is something that will happen with time. Thank you for seeing this through. I think I'd rather face a dozen dragons than the ghosts of the past.
Clarine, are you all right? Clarine, I've been worried sick. Thank the Eight that you are all right.
All is well, Elmond. The heroes you sent succeeded, and I have something extraordinary to tell you.
I know, my dear, I know. An old wrong can be set right today. I feared for your life. I know I should have told you about Bastian, but I will earn your forgiveness, and his, I promise you.
A day that started in darkness and fear has brought me a miracle beyond imagining. The loss of my family all those years ago almost broke me. To find out now that I am not the only Hallex left. I hardly know what to think. How is this possible? Sit down with Bastian and talk for days. I want to know everything about how he was raised and what family he found. Where has he been all this time? And I need to speak with my husband. Why did he tell me Bastian died? A mistake? Or not? I guessed as much. I remember the court officials who interrogated me after my father's treason. My life hung by a thread in those awful months. But it was wrong for Elmond to mislead me so. It was my family, and my decision to make. Am I upset? Yes, of course. But I understand why Elmond chose as he did. He's a good man. I only wish he'd told me sooner that my brother lived. The Sylvels of Daggerfall? Bastian stayed with him after Mother died, but he was to be sent to us just as soon as the King's officers satisfied themselves that I had no part in my father's conspiracy. I hope they were kind to him.
I cannot thank you enough for rescuing Clarine. I know I made a dreadful mistake in the past. I promise to make it up to both Clarine and her brother. Bastian seems like a good man. I will be proud to call him brother too.
I don't even know where to begin. My sister and I haven't seen each other in 25 years. She remembers me as a 2-year-old child, and I don't remember her at all. What if we have nothing in common besides a name? For the first time since we started down this road, I think I believe that too. But we have so much lost time to make up for. And the thought that I missed the chance to be a part of this family decades ago is almost too much to bear. For all I know, Elmond Ozen saved my sister's life by lying to her. And it's obvious that he loves her with all his heart. They are happy together. For my sister's sake, I can set aside old sorrows. But I am done with the Sylvels.